Hello and welcome to the Responsive Family Sleep Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Hawley, holistic sleep coach, lactation consultant, peaceful parenting educator, and mom. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by all the conflicting sleep info, frustrated with sleep information that just plain felt wrong, or searched desperately for a truly gentle and responsive sleep approach, then you are in the right place. In each episode, we'll be answering your most pressing baby and toddler sleep questions, busting those sleep myths, and helping you understand truly developmental, biologically normal baby and toddler sleep, plus encouraging you to trust your intuition along the way. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited for this episode and actually to kick off a bit of a mini series that we're going to be doing on realistic expectations by age. And so today's episode is going to be about newborns and newborn sleep and what is realistic for newborns. And then I'm going to release episodes probably over the course of this winter, a couple this month, a couple in January, and then a couple in February, going through what's realistic by each age. Honestly, I'm going to be honest. Wow. To be honest, I am not 100% sure on exactly how I'm going to pace it out. I don't have my winter episodes fully planned, so there's some fluidity there based on what other topics inspire me and what guests I end up releasing what guest episodes. And so the goal here is to spread them out so that each month there is some of these episodes and some other episodes, because age-specific episodes, right? You might be in this phase, you might not. And, on that note, if you're in this phase, then this is the perfect episode for you. If you are coming into this phase, right? If you are pregnant or thinking about next child and like, oh my God, I don't remember the newborn days at all, because I hear that a lot from my parents as they head into the next baby, whether it's the second or the third or more. This is, listen, of course. If this is upcoming phase, listen, of course. But if this is not your phase, right, and it's not on the horizon for you, then I would ask you to share this episode with a friend, with a parent group, because realistic expectations is so important. And it's actually quite hard for a lot of parents to access that information. And I think that's the biggest way we create more stress than we need to, right? And more tiredness, like the emotional burden of trying to figure out what is actually normal. And so the more we can have realistic expectations freely available, the better, right? So, newborn sleep. Oh my goodness, the newborn period is such a wild time. And you may have heard this time being called the fourth trimester, right? This is baby's adjustment to the outside world. They're going from being in utero, where all their needs are met by the pregnant parent's body, to outside, right? Where they have to experience like signaling for support and feeding and digesting and breathing and controlling their body against gravity and in the air and clothes and all the things. And it is actually quite a lot. It's a very different sensory environment. And there's a lot of things that we don't think about. And I always think about this, I don't even know if it was, I think it was lactation consultant, something she said. And this was before I even became a parent. I was observing a breastfeeding class in grad school as part of an internship I was doing. And she said that even if you hold your newborn for 12 hours a day, that's 50% less contact than they are used to. And that just always stuck with me because it was so, I just had never thought about it that way. And I mean, I was 24 or something, so when I was not a parent. But, just that awareness that when they're in utero, There's so many ways our bodies support them and stimulate them and comfort them. And then they're outside of us. And that reduction in connection to us is so profound, right? And then throw in the fact that we are carry mammals. And our babies are actually meant to be in arms, on our chest, being worn in a sling or carrier, like as much as humanly possible. That's sort of our evolutionarily biological roots, which, not everybody can manage. In theory, we also had lots of other adults around to be some of those extra arms. It wasn't falling on one or two people. But we are carry mammals, and carry mammal babies expect to be carried and be up against their people, their parents. And you as the parent are their natural habitat in these early months, like your chest. You are their habitat. So that's sort of big picture, right? Taking it sort of a step closer to sleep, right? This is a very immature time for sleep, and babies sleep a lot. Average total sleep, so across the whole 24 hours, is 14 to 17 hours of total sleep. If you have a very high sleep needs baby, they might sleep a bit more than that. If you have a very low sleep needs baby, they might sleep a bit less than that and still be okay. Sleepy feeds are still sleep, right? Just sleep is not just baby in their crib or bassinet. Sleeping on your chest, sleeping in a baby carrier, sleeping, dozing while nursing, that's all sleep. So babies sleep a lot, but they don't generally sleep in chunks that are very conducive to parent sleep. They sleep in irregular chunks and often shorter chunks than we would like. So if you think about babies born, and they're often very alert right after birth, right? We kind of get that first feed in, and they're like, whoa, what just happened to me? And you're kind of like, whoa, what just happened to me? And then babies are often very sleepy over that first 24 hours. And so, you're often given advice like, wake the baby to feed them, every X amount, every 2 hours. But during the day, don't go longer than 3 hours at night is sort of the most standard advice. And that's from beginning to feed to beginning to feed. So not the gap between feeds, end to beginning. It's beginning to beginning. So they're often very sleepy over that first 24 hours. And then a lot of times they will wake up that second night of life. They'll wake up and they want to eat a lot. So for body feeding, if we're nursing, lots of cluster feeding, right? They want to nurse all the time and they want to be in arms and they're less easy to put down. And it can be quite a shock, right? It can be like, oh my God, what did we get ourselves into? And so it's a great night to have an extra pair of arms around if that's possible. One that, maybe wasn't your main support person during birth, to help you, right? Because it is a kind of a known period. Of course, some babies as with everything, right? Some babies are more intense, some babies are less intense, and all of these things. So that second night of life is often a really tricky time. And then we sort of have these first few weeks, right? Some babies are very sleepy over the first few weeks, and it's really, really important that you wake them to feed often enough, right? We have got to feed babies frequently in the early weeks for lots of reasons, so that they can grow, so that we make sure they are eating enough, right? Babies that are hungry can be very sleepy, right? There's lots of reasons a baby can be sleepy, not just because they're hungry, but we want to make sure that they're feeding frequently enough to grow, to gain weight, to surpass their birth weight, to be healthy and thrive. And then, of course, if you're nursing, we need those feeds to bring in your milk supply and then to maintain your milk supply. So we're going to have lots of feeding. Plus you're learning, right? So baby's not the most efficient. You're not the most together. There's lots of messy learning in these early weeks. So baby sleep is very irregular, right? And it is irregularly scattered across the 24 hours because your baby does not actually know their days from nights. They don't have an established circadian rhythm. Their body is not yet regulating their days and their nights. So they could be partying at midnight and try to give you their longest sleep stretch at 2 in the afternoon, right? Because they don't know, their body is not controlling this yet. And so it's also irregular, as in they might doze for 30 minutes here and then sleep for 2 hours there and then give you a 3-hour stretch here and then a 1-hour stretch there. So there's not a lot of predictability in those stretches, how they happen, where they happen, like when they happen, the order in which they happen. It's just lovely, messy newborn chaos, right? And that's to be expected. We start to see a bit more of a nighttime around 2-3 months. And by around 3 months, baby is starting to produce all the hormones they need to in order to regulate their own day-night circadian rhythm. It's emerging. It's not totally established, but it's emerging. And throughout this whole process, we can help baby learn their days from nights by using light. I'm veering off a bit from realistic expectations because this is so important. We can help baby learn their day from night using light. What I mean by that is regular morning wake time, regular light exposure, roughly, right? Maybe that's between 6:30 and 7:30, right? An hour, 30, 60-minute window. Abundant natural light during the day. Get outside with that baby, especially if you can in the morning, or if it's cold, we're headed into winter, maybe, also get outside in the afternoon. Just let light in. Get natural light. Get outside with baby. It's good for your mental health too. And then in the evening, we want a regular time that we're dimming the light to cue the body, hey, the sun has set. It's time to release melatonin, right? And that only happens in the presence of dim light. And then we want a regular time the house goes dark, and a dark overnight. And baby sleep is irregular. Remember, it's not going to be regular. So with older babies, we talk about this type of stuff in relationship to their sleep. With newborns, we talk about it in just have regular cueing. 7 a.m.-ish, we go into daytime mode, right? At 7 p.m.-ish, we don't have any bright lights on and we're just warm, dim lighting, and then maybe 8 or 9, we go into nighttime mode, whatever works for your family. I'm just pulling times off the top of my head. It's more about the pattern of it. So back to baby sleep, what's normal, right? We have very irregular sleep in the first month or so. And then as we kind of get to 2-3 months, it's still irregular, but we see more of a nighttime, and then those naps are what's going to shift around a bit more, right? And they're pretty irregular. Unless you have a baby who is naturally very rhythmic in their body, which is a temperament trait. It's not something you do or don't do. Then sometimes around 3 months, 2-3 months, you can see they have a bit of a pattern, right, to their sleep. It's going to change a lot, so don't get attached to it. But that really is a temperament trait more than anything else. Babies are very noisy sleepers, especially when they're young. And so sometimes they'll make some really funny noises when they sleep. And so if you are hearing your baby making some funny breathing noises or anything that concerns you, I highly encourage you just to grab your phone, take a quick video, share it with our pediatrician. They are awesome at screening that stuff for you. And just, I feel like 9 times out of 10, maybe 95% of the time, it's, that's normal, right? But it often makes you feel better just to get that normal. And then if there's something more going on, then they can be like, ooh, actually, get me another video or something, right? But it's almost always normal. So baby's loud sleepers, baby sleep is irregular, and there's honestly not a lot you can do to master the irregularity, right? One of the questions I get the most when teaching my newborn sleep class that I teach every month through the Breastfeeding Center of Greater Washington is, how do I get my baby on a schedule, right? How can I start establishing that in this phase? And I'm like, you can't, right? Besides the basic rhythmic nature of light exposure that I was just talking about, you can't. Baby sleep is so immature that we really we really need to let it be, right? We can get up at a regular time. We can start our day and get baby up and going and expose them to light. Like you could even wake them up if you wanted, right? Wake up, start our day. But beyond that, this isn't the time for predictability. It's the time to kind of lean into the immature nature of baby sleep. Another big piece of sleep at this age is that it is often the period in which babies most hate being put down. So it's really normal for baby to fall asleep in arms or while nursing, and they're beautifully, peacefully asleep, right? They're melty into you. It's so snuggly and lovely. And then you put them down and they're like, what? Right? Instantly awake. And some of this could be the startle reflex, right? But they're hardwired, right? They want to be on you. We are carry mammals. And for many, many, many babies, this is the period where that is most intense. Now, I will say every once in a while, I'll see a baby that's like a really sleepy, kind of chill newborn, and they don't get this intense need to be close until they are a bit more awake and engaged in the world around them. But most typically, this is the most common in the newborn phase. I feel like a lot of newborn sleep is about surrender, right? Surrender to what they need and protect your sleep. They need to be close to you. They need your reassurance. They need your comfort and support. They need night feeds. They need to be supported to sleep. They are not going to conform to a predictable sleep rhythm, right? And then how do we protect adult sleep in and around that? When we can go in with that idea, like this is a very immature baby, right? Like compared to other primates. Not, I mean, if it's a premature baby, that's a whole different conversation. But like our babies are born very dependent on us. They are hardwired to have closeness and touch equal safety and separation equal danger, right? That is their hardwiring. And so we know that they're safe in their bassinet. But their body is like, oh my God, the leopard's going to come eat me. And they need to be close. And that closeness, it regulates them. It regulates their physiology, their stress levels, their breathing, their heart rate. And holding them releases all the good, calming, nurturing, relaxing hormones. So not only is it sort of hardwired for them to want to be close, but it's actually quite healthy for them to be close and to be held. Not to say that we shouldn't put them down or can't put them down, right? We have to be practical. We do live in a modern society. But when we understand sort of the underlying what's normal, then we can make choices, looking at our reality and figure out how do we navigate that. So newborns sleep a lot, and they sleep in very unpredictable ways. It is normal, healthy, and natural for them to wake, to need feeds overnight, to need support, to sleep in unpredictable and irregular ways. They don't know their days from nights. This is an emerging process over this time. And snuggle them, support them. You don't need to get out ahead of anything. Right? The best thing for you and your newborn is to lean into those needs, as much as it is feasible for you to do. This isn't something that we have to fix. It's not a problem to fix. It's normal baby behavior. There is so much to say about newborns and sleep. I am sure I am leaving something out that as soon as I wrap up this episode, I'm going to decide I should have included, even with having made notes ahead of this. But I hope this gives you an overview on what's normal, right? And better ideas of maybe what to ask or what to look up or what you do need more information on when it comes to newborn sleep. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this episode left you feeling more informed, confident, and encouraged on your sleep journey. And just a reminder before you go that nothing in this episode is individualized to your specific sleep situation, nor is it to be taken as medical advice. Take what resonates, ignore what doesn't, and check with your healthcare provider about any medical concerns. Take a moment to subscribe to this podcast so that you'll never miss an episode. And take a moment to rate, review, or share an episode you love on social media. All of that helps parents just like you find me, this podcast, and this gentle and responsive sleep information. I'll see you next time.